I heard a lot of chatter about this being the best episode of the season so far. How do you guys feel about that?
It was definitely action packed, the most action packed season or episode of the season so far, which
Yeah,
is fun.
we saw our first. Uh, do we see our first people getting burned alive? Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Yes.
in the first scene, what well was the what the first scene was the dragon attacking at night, right? Wasn't that the
yeah.
crab people, or was that last
Yeah.
episode? That was
The
Prince Damon, like his first attempt to like attack, and then it didn't work out well because the arrow people right hurt the dragon and sort of hit him,
the arrow
and then he flew
people, the
off.
crab people,
The crab arrow people,
the crab
crab
arrow.
apple arrows.
Um, I think so. Like, I find it difficult to understand how Damon was having such a hard time with this. Like, because every time you saw him, he seemed to be just like doing great. You
Well, he
know,
was losing,
he was losing, but like he was
right?
burning stuff down, and like he didn't really seem in that much danger, right?
Well, what happened? So at the little council meeting they had with him when he like went all ape on that random guy that delivered the message that help was on the way, right?
Yeah.
Remember he
So
like got the message and it said help was on the way and he like didn't want help, or was that like him
yeah, he
rebelling against the fact that he's weak and he's losing?
yeah, like I think he considered that to be like a slight, right? Like a
Yeah, exactly.
that I can do. He's proven it. I think he's proven himself, and I think that he considered that a slight.
But
I
that battle afterward, that battle happened before the help could arrive, right? That was still the
yeah
original group of people that just did a different strategy. Okay,
yeah.
right.
But what was interesting about this battle? Well, the first thing that I think is quite interesting about this battle is, and I'm going to jump straight to the end on this one. You don't actually see Damon kill the crab eater. No, I always get this wrong. The crab feeder.
Feeder.
He's a
The
feeder.
crab feeder, is that what
Yeah,
he's called?
and I think this was an interesting choice, and I liked it because, as I understand it, crab feeder had grayscale. He certainly looked like he had grayscale in the shots. And I really quite liked his twitchy movements and his very subtle body language. Like, it wasn't overly
Very
done.
crab like.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Very crab like.
But it wasn't exaggerated. It was like twitchy, like, sort of like
Yeah, like
something.
was he wearing something like on his head? Was it like part of a shell, or was that just how his head was? I don't know.
It's a mask or part of a mask, right?
Part of a mask? Look at a picture
Yeah.
of this dude.
I
Yeah.
like the visuals of him, but it's kind of interesting to like, yeah, he's got an interesting look about it, very creative. I kind of like that. But
He's got an interesting look, but we really didn't really know anything about him
mm,
as a character, like what his
No,
motivations were
no.
or
We
anything.
don't. We
Like
probably aren't gonna hear from about him ever after that because he was sort of just a
yeah,
little rebellious, like nuisance that they just took out. You know.
yeah,
yeah. That's the like one negative I have about this episode is just that they didn't really, have interesting. They could have made that a little more interesting, I think. But I think overall, the rest of it was really good. The action
mm,
and the politicking in this episode were both
yeah.
very good.
My guess is that the crab feeder isn't that interesting as a general. Like, he's just a plot device or yeah, like,
Yeah, he didn't even get
Mhm.
screen time for his death.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You know, like, I mean, his body got screen time, but the actual we don't even know how well he fought. Like, he just gets dragged out of the cave with half of his remaining body left.
Well, he doesn't look particularly formidable. He actually, I think he kind of looks a bit sickly, to be
No,
honest. And he probably, if he has
yeah, and
grayscale, I don't know, like, is he gonna be much of a fight against like Daemon Targaryen, who,
well, that's what I was thinking. Like, it probably was a very short fight because he doesn't look like he
mm,
was. He looked like he was much. He never
mm,
goes out into the field at all. And
mm,
Damon like he comes out to release the crabs basically. He
yeah,
just like he released his army. Like he's probably not very a good fighter at all because he stands sort
mm,
of behind his army the whole time.
yeah,
And then he retreats into his cave.
And if he's got grayscale, I don't know what the effects of grayscale are necessarily. I know that it affects your mind, but I like he's like, and it also, if you take into account as well, like Daemon Targaryen in particular is not going to be as exhausted from battle as like anyone else on the battlefield, right? He flies straight in, and generally speaking, when he fights,
Yeah.
he's not really exerting himself in the same way that any other foot soldier would, right? Not to mention, of course, and I always imagine this in medieval fantasy, and probably there's probably some truth to it in actual medieval battles, is that like the nobility would have been much healthier than everyone else, because they would have had like a more varied diet. They would have been able to like eat properly. You know, they weren't malnourished,
Yeah.
and you know they probably had.
What are those people? What are the people eating? What are
Yeah.
those like? What is the crab army actually surviving on that island?
I'd imagine crabs.
Is it crab?
Yeah.
Is it crab?
I'm sick of crabs.
They eat so many crab they become like them.
Maybe, yeah. It's like, yeah, the crabs eat the people, and then the people eat the crabs. So it's like secondary cannibalism, I guess, in that regard. So I
Bad
do,
people.
yeah, I like the cinematography of it, but also what I did quite like about the battle is the parallel between this and Rhaenyra's hunting scenes. It felt like they lined up really quite well. This idea that Viserys is like a bit impotent, a bit unenthusiastic, and then you've got Rhaenyra, who killed a boar very enthusiastically, albeit with the help of Kristen Cole.
Yeah, she kind of like. I mean, she made the final kill herself, but she stabbed it like 8 times, right, with a smaller knife. But
Yeah,
what's that guy's
Kristen
Sir
Cole, I think
Chris-
it is.
Sir Kristen?
That's it. Yeah,
He made the first blow, right, on the boar.
yeah.
He kind of weakened it
he did
to
the
the same state.
But she was not shy in the same way that when Viserys had his stag that was captured, like he wasn't into that. Like he was like, oh, okay, got to do the ceremony, you know.
Yeah, he sort of begrudgingly sort of did it. He had to get told to stab it one more time harder.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of like a metaphor for it, is that Viserys kind of like just lost the will for being a king, and you've got Rhaenyra, who is she's kind of like taking a degree of agency, you know, because she was like she brought the boar back, and she was like covered in mud and everything. It's kind of like a bit of a power move. Yeah, Daemon, who he won on the is it Stepstones? That was that's a power move. Viserys did no power move. He has power. He is power moveless, and I think that's
It's all image. I mean, a lot of it's tradition and image. It's not like actually getting things done, I guess. It's more tradition, which is why it's begrudgingly done.
And of course, there was the scene about the white stag, where she saw the white stag, but decided not to pursue it. I do have to
Yeah,
say,
what do you think that's about?
well, first off, just to the superficial stuff, the CGI on that ruined it for me. That looked like such a CGI white stag, like it was Bambi. It was just like, I don't know. I felt like is a little bit, not necessarily what it looked like, but the movement of it just looked very, very CGI. But that aside,
They should have just got like a real thing and then like colored it white or something. Got like a reindeer
yeah.
and then did white editing on it.
Yeah, I think, see, the white stag represents the crown, right? And her deciding not to pursue the white stag might mean that she decides not to pursue the crown, which possibly might be something like a foreshadowing towards the very end of the Dance of Dragons, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know.
She has the option to, like it's within her grasp, but she decides that it's not worth it, or that, you know, she takes like the Arya path almost, as it were, you know, makes her own path.
I don't. Maybe it's sort of that, you know, Viserys is like sticking to tradition and everything, going through with this hunt, like, and Rhaenyra seems more like willing to, you know, like change what the crown is, and and everything. So
Change the order
she
of things.
isn't as focused. Change the order of things a little bit because her reign would be different than her father's. And I was thinking about this hunt in comparison to the hunt in season 1 of Game of Thrones, where Robert gets killed. Well, he gets like fatally wounded by the boar, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a different kind of hunt in this era of like where the Targaryens are like so high up and detached from society and regular,
Yeah.
like they're like farther away from the common people. They have a party go out and tie up this deer
Yeah.
for Viserys to kill, basically. With he didn't really do anything to hunt the deer or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Robert in when Robert's case, he actually lost his life because of a hunt. So it shows like a different kind of king.
Yeah, it's like, well, what makes a good hunt, right? Like, in one case, like, should the person that's highest in power, like, do the honorable thing and actually do all the hard parts of the hunt? Because I feel like having your whole army do it for you just so you can stab the creature, like, you didn't do as part of tradition, but you didn't really do the hunt then. You just sort of did the last thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
also the ridiculous.
Yeah.
The ridiculous spear thing that Jason Lannister gives him to
Taking the final
kill it.
He's got tassels on. His little tassel spear.
Yeah. I was thinking too, like, I remember, so it's in this episode that, like, the king, he says that he wants Rhaenyra to be happy, right? Isn't that, like, what he says? But he also tells her, right, in this episode, that he doesn't want her to be replaced. Like, that's not his intention at all, to replace her. So I wonder if that sort of helps her not want to be the one that takes out the White Heart, because then maybe she's kind of stepping on him and replacing him. So I don't know, like, there's this balance of like, well, I want you to like get married, and do all this, but my goal isn't to get you replace you. I don't want to replace you as a person. It's just about
I think he kind of realizes like sort of two fundamental things about Rhaenyra. The first is that she doesn't need anything. Like he talks to Jason Lannister, and it's like, do I look like I need more, military power? I've got dragons? Do I look like I need more than dragon? Right. So she doesn't need to marry for an army, probably, right? Or it's unlikely that she's going to need to marry for an army. She's probably not going to need to marry for wealth. So she can marry for any reason that she wants. But then I think the second thing is that he also understands that she's going to make her own way, and she'll probably like not be stupid. Like, I think he probably trusts her.
She'll think about it. She'll make like a good decision.
Yeah, like
he also says that too, right? He says like you should marry whoever you want. Like, he does give her that permission to just make up what you want to do. I don't want to replace you or do it for you.
Yeah, but he also knows like the more that he tries to guide her, the more she'll resist. And I think
exactly, and that's why she's on the perimeter. That's why she runs away.
Yeah, it's like so I think he sort of understands at that point that like
why does she run away? Why does she like take off on the horse? She says some like offhand like comment, and then someone else says like one of the women says something about her, right?
Yeah. Red wine, right? The red wine lady is, I believe, the original house, the maiden name of Olenna Tyrell from the original Game of Thrones, played by oh my word, I'm blanking on her name. Max, you've got to know this. Diana Rigg.
I don't know her name, but she was in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Diana Rigg.
Right? Yeah.
I think it is, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yes, I think so. Yes. Yeah. So yes, Elena Tyrell was originally, before she got married, was a red wine, I believe. Could be wrong on that one, but I know that her family's like at least linked to it or married into it. So yeah, I actually really kind of like this. How they sort of set this up, that she didn't like the hunting as well, yet she did it. Whereas like Viserys started off like looking forward to the hunting, looking like he was going to enjoy it, and then sort of soured on it over time. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think what we saw in this episode really was Rhaenyra and Daemon claiming agency and Viserys losing it,
Mhm.
and also a little bit of Alicent Hightower, like she's sort of finding her stride a little bit, because up until now she was basically doing her father's bidding. She was and often under duress. But this episode she was kind of
Yeah.
not. She was becoming the person that she's going to be in the Dance of Dragons.
Does her father like Otto, right? Isn't that what his name?
That's the one,
His
yeah.
name is.
Hmm.
Doesn't he still think that the son is going to be the heir? Like still thinks that's gonna happen, right?
Well,
That the king's gonna do that.
this is
He
the
still does, right?
this is kind of the interesting thing. So on the side of the Dance of Dragons, you've got Alicent's side and you've got Rhaenyra's side. And the thing is, and Alicent's son, Aegon, second of his name, he doesn't want to be king. Alicent doesn't seem hell-bent on her son, him being king, Aegon, her son. And Otto Hightower doesn't really seem that hell-bent on it. Maybe he is behind the scenes. The thing about Otto Hightower, of course, he seems very good at guarding his expressions and emotions. But I think what's going to be quite interesting and tragic about this series is that there's going to be this conflict for the crown, but like the people closest to the conflict are going to be the ones who least want to be involved in it, least want it to happen, most
Right.
willing to make peace. But because there's so much peripheral politicking, it just adds oxygen to the fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Otto in this, his suggestion for who Rhaenyra should wed really benefits him, but he sort of like brings it up into the king in such a way to be like, oh, this is just gonna help her because she's not gonna be getting all these marriage proposals. It'll be close to home.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's really
someone else
it's really
points
him
out,
just
like-
trying to nip the civil war in the bud before it starts and get his grandson
Yeah.
to really become the king, so become the heir basically.
Yeah, well, it'd be an interesting ambiguity, because if Aegon married Rhaenyra, he would be king consort rather than like the crown king. But
Right.
Yeah, but then
but
at that point, there's like after Viserys dies, there would like it'd be assumed that the lords would back Aegon in that as being, or treat him as being the king.
yeah, well, treat him as being the king. Like I think, and there have been times in history, I believe, where that's kind of been the case, where like marriages like that were done as a way just to like keep everybody happy, and fundamentally they would be like king and queen as equals. They'd be like a power couple of sorts, right? And no one would really care, or no one would really discuss, because like it wouldn't fundamentally matter. They'd make decisions as a pair, as a collective. Their interests would be as aligned as they could be. It would just basically be the path of least resistance to not having a war. So
Right.
it could be this, just like, I think what they could be doing with that suggestion possibly is presenting the branch of an alternative timeline where that happens and then the Dance of Dragons doesn't. it could be like, yeah, it could, in a very established Targaryen way of solving problems, bring the lineage back together, but they decide not to do that, and then the Dance of Dragons happens, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe. I know a few things that happen, and I don't know, because obviously you, Matt, are less contextualized with this, so I don't know how much you want me to give away. I don't know like a lot, but I do know some things, like some key
Yeah.
things that are
Doesn't
destined to
matter. I
happen.
mean, you can talk about it.
All right. Well,
If it makes good content, you can talk about it.
I think, unless I have misunderstood something, Rhaenyra ends up marrying Daemon, which I think is kind of like foreshadowed and
Really?
yeah. So it does go that sort of Targaryen way,
Wow.
because and it's kind of foreshadowed, because I think Daemon kind of like has planned that from the beginning.
Yeah, he's shown interest in her, like every scene they've shared together, like giving her gifts and
Yeah, the little necklace in the beginning. And
Dropping into Valerian, and yeah, like and of course, like that conflict on the bridge at Dragonstone, like Rhaenyra, like he was never gonna do anything, he was never gonna, like, Rhaenyra just ended it.
But I guess I'm curious. How that decision gets made, and if Rhaenyra makes that choice, or
well, what
if
we
it sort of is just what they decide.
Well, today really heavily kind of foreshadowed it, because it illustrated how similar Rhaenyra and Daemon are. Like, they kind of had their own...
Their characters line up.
Their characters lined up, like, very, perfectly, really. They both, like, killed something. They both sort of went in the face of their father. No, not their father. Their king, because, of course, Daemon, brother...
Yeah. They both ride dragons. They had that little dragon egg scene as well earlier on, where she like kept the peace by telling him to give the dragon egg back.
Yep. So it makes
It's just be fun to see that develop and see how that works.
Definitely. And like I thought, like from sorry, Max, go ahead.
I think I think in the future, if it goes away, we've been thinking in that Rhaenyra and Daemon get together, that's going to be sort of what turns Otto Hightower more into backing his grandson more aggressively and everything, because those seeds were sown in the first episode of Hightower does not like Daemon at all.
That's correct. Yeah. So that's...
I'm thinking that maybe what we see in the next episode might see some Rhaenyra and Daemon stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
also, Rhaenyra and Kristen Cole too seem to be a thing as well.
Well, like Kristen Cole ends up being quite, like, from what I understand of what Kristen Cole ends up doing, he ends up killing someone on the small council in a way that doesn't seem like his character now. Like, he seems to get a little bit darker and more warped by sort of conflict and that kind of thing. Because at the moment he kind of seems a little bit knight in shining armor, doesn't he, Kristen Cole?
Yeah, he does very much.
He's very charming.
He saved her from the boar.
Yeah, but he seems to.
He ran after the princess when she ran away.
Yeah, but so yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see how their relationship develops, whether or not it's going to be a romantic kind of thing, or whether or not, like, it will be one of those kind of relationships where one of them, like, does a grand favor, and that kind of keeps them, not necessarily indebted, but like feeling close, but yeah, it's it's like the pieces are starting to fall into place now, and I'm kind of enjoying that. Also, the Valerian kids are growing up a little bit. This is 3 years, and it's kind of interesting actually, because there was the young woman who was 12 in episode 2. 3 years passed, so 15 is actually like
that's 15.
That's a bit of a I think a bit of a jump, really, because those 3 years, like 3 years when you're like 30 are not nothing, but 3 years when you're 12 is everything, right?
Those are some important developmental years.
Because
and I think there's changing the actresses for both Alyssa Hightower and Rhaenyra within like the next 2 episodes as
Oh,
well
really?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because like
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess you got to do that when there's a time jump. You got to do that because
Yeah.
you can't make people age.
because the Valerians they I mean we saw one of the Valerian children ride a dragon in this episode, and I think they both do, and it's like how old before you are old enough to ride a dragon? Is there like a I know that
I don't know.
in America
you
is
gotta
it
be trained.
is it 15
Oh,
before
for
you can
driving?
drive a car in the States?
It depends on the state. I think
It
some
does.
states it's as young as 14.
Oh my god.
Permits and stuff. Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
you like get your license that young, but they do have under 18 licenses, right?
Yeah, and well, in Pennsylvania, I got my permit. You can get your permit at 16 and your license at 16 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I mean here in the UK it's 17, which is it seems just weirdly young. Like I think
license age.
I think the
Okay,
reason
age
reason-
requirement for learner's permit by state. The youngest is 14.
14 can
And
you
that's
imagine?
in
Yeah.
like
Oh my god.
that's like some of the middle and northern states like North and South Dakota and
Yeah, it's like for
Yeah.
out in the boonies where like
Wow.
for agriculture, mostly like kids are working on family farms, I guess is the idea.
Oh well,
Yeah,
we've
they
got
need to work young. Like Montana's 14 and 6 months. You can get your learner's permit.
well, I think in the UK
Full license is 16 to 18 usually. Yeah.
I think
What's it
in
like
the
in the UK?
I think in the UK to drive on a farm is a bit younger. I mean, on the streets though, like it's 17. But yeah, if you're working on the farm, I've been to school with farmers, and they drive tractors when they're quite young. But I don't know if that's legal because it's on a private land on a
Probably
farm.
not.
Who's going to know, right? I don't
Probably
know.
not. They're gonna the man in charge of the farm is gonna make his kids do stuff. You can't stop that.
Yeah, but so I don't know. Like I suppose in Game of Thrones world where everything's a bit younger anyway, I suppose 15 is almost old enough to ride a dragon, right?
To at least
Yeah.
start, to at least
Totally.
start to learn, of course.
Start along, yeah, small dragon, yeah.
Kick them out of the house when they graduate high school or something,
Mm.
or whatever they. Is there school? Is there even school in this time?
There's
There's no
Oh,
school,
the
right?
maesters
The maesters.
teach, I guess.
But they're old, kind of. Well, not all old. No, yeah. Well,
All right.
yeah.
I'm just curious. Just a curious question.
they have a university of sorts, but it's usually just noble children being taught by.
I wonder what the initiation process for riding a dragon is, though. Like, I don't know how they, how they select
Well-
people to do that.
It's only like people of Valyrian descent, so the people like in the Targaryen and the Valyrian families.
Okay. All right. that makes sense.
And they're like given a dragon egg when they're
Little-
babies,
To bond with it.
and they bond with the dragon growing up.
Right. Got to make that bond.
Mm.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, the dragons let you ride them. I suppose is
Let
really
them come to you. Yeah.
So,
So you got to build a bond early to start,
mm,
so that they're more accepting and comfortable with you, I guess.
yeah, I will say actually, what is quite interesting about this episode as a whole, the battle scenes in particular, I enjoyed them the second time watching. Because when I was watching for the first time, I don't know, I was a little bit on the edge of my seat. I was a little bit a little bit nervous and a little bit like, I don't know, overthinking things. And when I was watching it for the second time, knowing what was happening, I enjoyed them a little bit more. I know that like Damon's stuff when he started going a bit Jon Snow towards the end was a little bit action
It
hero.
was a little gratuitous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
was.
yeah,
It was a little like Deus Ex Machina with like the dragon showing up like right when the army's all around,
Yeah. I
Classic.
I mean, yes, it was very cinematic, is what I'll say. But I enjoyed it. It was good.
It was fun. It was a good time. We still haven't got our ship battle yet, though. I was wondering if there was going to be like dragon attacking ships, but no, not quite seafaring battle yet.
I suspect we will do, because a
Maybe.
lot of it is taking place off of the east coast of Westeros. So,
It's
yeah.
been fun. I'm enjoying it.
It is. Did you okay? So did you guys notice the aging of Viserys, the king? He looked a little bit
Yeah,
older. Like
he
the
did look a little bit
hairline, the
older.
hairline's faded back
Yep.
a little bit. You know,
Mm-hmm. The
that's
gray hair a little bit,
yeah, it's a
I
bit
think.
greyed, a bit more faded back, a little. You know, he's kind of got a Joe Biden thing going on there. You know, a little bit. It's yeah,
Really like
it's
that he really liked that alcohol. I don't know how many of
yeah,
those glasses he had, but
yeah. I Some people have been saying that it's like pain relief because he's like falling apart basically, but I
he's
think a
just
lot.
numbing himself,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he was like numbing himself. I was kind of getting the vibe that he was just like, I'm done. Like he's on the way out. I think he might die next. I think
He's succumbing to his acceptance of being on the way out, basically, yeah.
I think there's a good chance he could die in the next episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I mean,
mean,
when somebody shows their first sign of weakness, you know?
it's foreshadowing. I don't know. What do you think, Max? Do you think it's next episode or episode after? It's got to be one of those two, right?
I think he'll last another two.
Two. So at the
I hope.
like at the end of the next two, like it'll be the final thing. It'll be and then it'll fade to black.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
so. We're on episode 3 now, so that'd be good. Like mid-season ender, right
Mid-season
there,
shift.
like right in the middle of the season.
When did Robert Baratheon die? He died in episode 4, right?
I think so. He died early.
He died early. Who killed what when what does what episode? I'm just gonna try and find it now. Assassination of Robert Baratheon. Let's see. Robert's death. Hunt. It'll be in the IMDb synopsis, won't it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that something you can just Google? Like, when does this character die in the.
It kind of, but when I just googled it now, it talked about like real in game, in show years, that kind of thing. The wolf.
Oh.
Was it the is it the wolf and the lion? Oh no, is it 6 season?
Wow.
Is it, fourth.
I'm seeing episode 7.
Yeah, 7. Robert has been injured while hunting and is
Wow.
dying. John and the others finally take their vows at the Night's Watch. Okay.
But he got injured. He was injured for a little while before
Yeah.
he died, right?
Yeah, he was injured for a few episodes, yeah. Because him and Ned were like had a scene together where they were both injured, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert goes hunting
Oh.
in episode 6 and then dies in
Survived a
episode.
while.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, all right. So it could be a bit later. I don't know what. So they've already commissioned a season 2. They obviously had a season 2 on the card, so we're not going to see the end of the Dance of Dragons this season. Which,
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing all these time jumps now. I wonder if later they're gonna have to slow the pace down, just because we've been going so fast. Like it's like every episode's a couple year time jump already.
Yeah, something tells me they are like, yeah. Although, yeah, because they're, yeah. One of the things I do quite like about this episode is we did get a bit more of a broader sense of Westeros at this time. With seeing more families. We saw the Strong family, we saw the Lannisters, we saw the Red Wines, we saw. Is that all? Is that the lot? Yeah, Hightowers. We saw the older Hightower guy. So they were like the bigger players of power. I think it's unlikely that we're going to see Starks. We saw Starks as a cameo in episode 1, but
They're in the North doing their own thing.
yeah,
They don't really. I don't think they really care about what's going on
no, they
down south.
stay well away from it. They're up there for a couple of 100 years before anything happens now. So yeah,
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
that's good. Right. I think this is probably, yeah, I quite enjoyed this episode. Probably the best of the season so far. Most people are saying it as such, but it's still lacking comedy. It's still like there's not been any comic relief or lightheartedness. Still very dour. That's the only thing about this series I will
Yeah,
criticize it for. And also using
that's where they could have injected a little more humor into some of the scenes, like with when Rhaenyra's in the Godswood listening to the guy playing the
The
song.
bard,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
It was a
Yeah.
little funny. but
Okay.
not
Yeah.
hilarious.
All
but
right. That's
It was a
the.
little bit funny.
That's
He kept playing, and they were both ordering him what to do, and he was like caught in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. But yeah. All right. That's the point. Like that's. I wouldn't go so far as to call that a joke, but it was something that wasn't that was a little bit of a.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think they could go further with that. They could like make that guy a reoccurring character or something.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of alcohol in this episode. So they could have done some more funny alcohol stuff.
Yeah, they
But,
could have.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, because even Robert Baratheon, when he was in Game of Thrones, like he just had some good one-liners, right? Like he just, like start the joust before I piss myself, classic, It's like it's great, yeah. Yeah, they could have done a lot more with that. Actually, come to think about it, which is, so I think I'm not going to get my hopes up that that's going to change in this season. I was thinking that Bard guy might have possibly been like not a rip-off, but a Jaskier from The Witcher. Like they're going to let's have
Witcher moment.
Yeah, let's have our own Jaskier because he went down very well. He's my favorite character in The Witcher. I think he's great. So, why not steal why not get a dollar store brand for Game of Thrones as well? Just pull a Bard off the shelf. But I think he's probably not going to be a reoccurring character. I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
No, I don't even think we got his name.
No.
I don't even think he had a name in that scene.
No, his name was Samwell.
Oh.
I remember because I'm like Samuel Tarly.
Ah, well, there we go. But even Samuel, Tyrion, or like main characters in Game of Thrones had comedy moments. It was so. Yeah, but anyway, it's a gripe I can live with. It's fine. It's.
You're just gonna have to be a little bit more serious then, Chris.
Just gonna have to be a little bit more serious. Very serious. Cool. All right. Any final thoughts? Because we've got to wrap up because Mac's got to shoot. Thumbs up from me. I'm happy. Looking forward to the next season.
I'm having a good time too. Yeah, it's fun.
That's good.
Yeah. I think the show keeps getting better.
Yeah.
It's ramping up.
He's ramping up. Who's the character that you are most excited to see develop, Matt?
Me?
Yeah. Is there a character like who's the guy or woman that you're like? I want to know like what are they going to do next in 3 years' time in the next episode or whatever.
Oh. Well, Rhaenyra's not needed, but you told me that she ends up with Prince Daemon, but I want to see what the king does. He's under some stress. I want to see because I don't know how he I don't know how he dies. You don't have to tell me that if you know, but he's in a rough spot right now, but he's got like all the world's attention on him. I want to see what he does.
Yeah. What about you, Max? Who's the character that you're you're sort of more intrigued to see how they develop?
Daemon.
Yeah.
Definitely Daemon.
Yeah, he is interesting. I thought they were going to set him up as a more like sinister Joffrey-esque character, but actually I kind of like him. Like he's the problematic fave, right? He's
Maybe he'll change. Maybe he won't.
I think mine's going to be Kristen Cole. I suspect, I get the vibe that he's going to turn into a really like not a sinister character, but like just a not a cutthroat character. He'll be loyal to Rhaenyra, but he will be like he will go dark. Like he will be like
he'll be the best dark. He'll be the best friend and dark.
Yeah, he'll be the one that buries Rhaenyra's bodies. He will be
right hand
man doing all the dirty work. And I think
the best friend that does all the dirty work.
And I think like that's going to come from like he's been in real battles, and as Jorah Mormont likes to say, war makes monsters of us all. And it's like, there's maybe some unraveling that you can do with Kristen Cole that brings out a side of him that's less a little bit of a knight in shining armor.
Yeah, he's gonna fall. All he needs is a little push.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So episode 3, grand. Thank you for everyone for joining. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Chris. It's okay. You're welcome. And and we'll
pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. Everyone give yourself a pat on the back. Good. Yeah. Well done. All right. Thank you for joining us, and toodaloo.
See ya.